the host of Aaron's Hour, Aaron Phillips.
Hey, everybody. Happy Saturday. Happy post-Thanksgiving. Hopefully all the tryptophan is out of your system just in time to start eating all your leftover turkey to get more tryptophan. Welcome to Aaron's Hour with Aaron Phillips. I am Aaron Phillips. If I wasn't, the name of this show would be totally ridiculous. But we thank you for tuning in.
You would call the show Totally Ridiculous?
If it wasn't, maybe we should change the name of the show to Totally Ridiculous. Hosted by Aaron Phillips and John Stiles. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you're watching us on Facebook, you got two choices. My page, Aaron's Hour Show, www.dbtv.com. That's the page there. But also, if you like YouTube, guess what? We made it easy. Same two-page titles, also on YouTube. Now, if you're driving around town, because right now back east, it's about 3 p.m., probably out doing holiday shopping or whatever, you can download WWDB-TV to your Android. If you have an iPhone product, WWDB-TV LV to your Apple product. Or if you have Roku, and if you don't, my question is, why don't you? In about 72 hours, you can go to Roku, download WWDB-TV as one of the channels. Not only will you see this show, but you'll see what's working. I can't make up. My head's been up in the clouds the last 24 hours. There you go. A preponderance, not to be confused with ponderosa or plethora, or what was some of the others we did? Multiple something anyway. Humongous. Multiple. Anyway, there's a lot of shows you can watch on the network there. Check it out. Phone number 702-992. What's our number? I haven't said it in a while. 3207. Oh my God.
Look up on the screen.
Why would I want to do that? Remembering it is just is so much more fun. Folks, I've had a little crazy 24 hours. If you watched Thoughts Count Anywhere earlier, my dad went in the hospital yesterday morning about 3:30 a.m., had successful gallbladder surgery, got a message while I was on the air earlier that my dad is being discharged, which is great news. So the brain, a little tired and a little running in 4,000 different directions, which is why I'm so thankful that I have a guest coming on with me today in a little bit. That'll be worthwhile listening to, because I may just ramble all show long if I didn't have a guest to talk to.
I'll cut your mic.
I know you will. His name is James Doc Mason. We're going to call him Doc, which I love that, by the way.
Ask him what's up.
Damn you. I hate you, John. Doc is a screenwriter, producer, consultant, author of a book entitled Mastering the Log Line, How to Excite Hollywood in a Single Sentence. I can't wait to get into that, because that sort of sounds like a lot like a tagline for a brand or something, like just do it or things like that. So I'm anxious to hear more about that, as I'm beginning to dabble a little bit more in the acting field myself, although I don't know why, but that face of radio thing is starting to dissipate. All right, with that, you know what time it is?
What time is it?
12:03. It's time for I'm using that clock. You said that was right now.
Right.
All right, good. It is now time for Vegas Unwrapped 2.0.
With a nod to the past and an eye to the future, here is Aaron Phillips with Vegas Unwrapped 2.0.
All right, you know, if I didn't love Yvonne Craig, who is the original Batgirl on television, I could really love that girl that does that piece for us, John.
You know she's not real.
That's okay. Most of my fantasies aren't either, so you know.
She's not cheap either.
Well, I mean, she's Jewish then. Anyway, so Thanksgiving week. Hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving, got an opportunity to spend time with your family, friends, whoever, kept some loved ones, whatever you need to do. Hopefully you had a good time. So, of course, what would Thanksgiving be without some people winning a lot of money here in Las Vegas? Did you win a lot of money here yet, John?
Me?
Sorry, I forgot who I was asking.
Don't you have to gamble to win money?
Oh, you mean you got to be in it to win it, kind of thing?
Yeah.
My guest, James, he's sitting in the internet room just kind of watching us. So with the
He looks bored.
he does. He does. I'll get him in a minute, but he can give me an answer to this. James, you come to Vegas often, yes? And do you gamble when?
Nodding yes.
Yes, he's yeah. What great radio this is, isn't it? Do you gamble a lot when you come here, James? He doesn't gamble. So
Smart man.
that's right. He won. He gambles, but he wins by keeping. You know what I play to win money? I play the ATM machine. I love that machine. It's my own money, but it feels good when it comes out. Okay.
I'm always excited when it pays off.
Yeah, exactly. If it doesn't,
Still of not knowing.
The thrill of not knowing if you've overextended. That's the thing right there. California man strikes gold in Las Vegas, winning $1 million on Thanksgiving.
Saw that.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Shane Burke from California struck gold. Yes, he did. The fortunate gambler walked away from the Venetian Resort, which is a place we don't hear a whole lot giving away winnings. He walked away a millionaire after hitting a staggering $1,012,030 jackpot while playing Ultimate Texas Hold'em. Buck's winning hand was a spade royal flush secured, and I'm going to use the word that's in this article because I love it, secured with a mere $5 side bet, catapulting him into the exclusive club of jackpot winners. So again, John, this goes back a mere $5 bet. But how much has he really spent up to that mere $5 to get this million? You know, he could have spent $2 million to get $1 million back after all is said and done. But this stroke of fortune echoes the excitement from the previous day when on the 22nd, an anonymous guest, there are a lot of anonymous people. Are they all related?
Yeah.
They also embrace a life-changing
Protection.
moment at the Venetian paid off again. The mysterious player scooped up an impressive $1.975 million jackpot, marking a week of extraordinary wins at the Venetian. So 2 major jackpots back-to-back at the Venetian Hotel. I wonder how Nathan Adelson feels about his hotels giving away huge jackpots like that.
Yeah.
Well, he'd be turning over in his grave. I didn't want to be obvious when I said that. Hey, but here's another winner. Slot player turns a $2.50 bet
Wait,
into
did you say slot? or
slot. No, slot. OT, like Pawn Stars.
Gotcha.
Right. Slot.
Isn't he in jail?
Who?
One of the guys from the Pawn Stars?
Richard Harrison? His name comes up, or is it the son?
I don't know.
Chumley was arrested.
One of them just got locked up. Chumley, that's it.
No,
Yeah.
was it? Well, the son got arrested for DUI a couple of weeks ago.
No. This
Chumley
guy-
again?
This guy just went to prison.
Oh my God. Well, we'll see in upcoming episodes who's not in the show anymore. Anyway, a slot player turns $2.50 into nearly $348,000 after hitting a jackpot of all places. You guessed it, the Las Vegas airport. That is right. So let's see. This person played at the airport, placed a $2.50 bet, won $348,000 playing Wheel of Fortune double gold spin slots. Congratulations. The airport, one of the toughest places. I always thought that the airport never really had the greatest odds of winning because you got to capture an audience there, right? Well, people are winning a lot out there. Even I won $300 waiting for a buddy of mine to come in. So I know it's legit. Last but not least, Durango Casino and Resorts gear up for the grand opening with a big fireworks show next week and everything. Durango Casino Resort. So here is some of the things you need to be aware of. The resort will open its doors to the public at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, December 5th. Guests will have access to over 2,300 slot machines, over 60 table games, and various, not just many or plethora, but various dining options. There's going to be a fireworks show scheduled for 9 p.m. to commemorate the grand opening. And the address, if you're not familiar, if you live in town, it's down by the new IKEA on the south side of Durango and the 215. 6915 South Durango Drive is the actual address where you can come out and check that out. That's all the news I got, John. You got any news you want to share before we go to break?
I got a new dog,
Yes, you did. What's the name of your new dog, by the way?
Maggie.
Maggie.
Yeah, she was born in May.
Boy, I walk into these and I don't understand why. But it's a shelter dog, you said, right?
Yeah.
3
she was
months?
rescued. Yep, we had a rescue group in here last Tuesday, and they guilted me into taking her home.
Guilty. And what's the mix of the dog? Very interesting.
It's a German Shepherd Collie mix, and she is just absolutely mellow, loving, very, very affectionate dog, very chilled. We had people over for Thanksgiving, and she was just ecstatic, happy as hell.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So that's all the news that's fit to print.
There you go. And I saw you showed a picture before I went on the air. The dog definitely has German Shepherd ears.
Oh yeah.
The dog's about this big, but the ears are about this big, right? All right, we're going to step aside for our first break a little early because I just saw a message come through on my phone from my dad, and I want to extend our break just a little bit so I can see what's going on. Hopefully, he's going to tell me he got released and is on his way back to his place, so I know what to do after the show's off the air. When we come back, joining me, we're just going to call him Doc Mason. Sounds like that's a Western thing. Right. You pull into like some old Western town. Hey, I got to go see Doc Mason. That's right. Well, Doc Mason, the author.
Will travel.
Maybe we'll be back on Aaron's Hour right after this.
Go for a commercial.
Let's go for a commercial, please.
How unique.
It's gorgeous.
You'll find the art that speaks to your heart at Desert Valley Gallery. I've gotta have it.
So colorful.
I can't live without it. You'll find the art that speaks to your heart at Desert Valley Gallery.
Hello, everybody. It's me, President Trump, greatest president in the history of presidents, and I've been on a lot of shows. Believe me, but the best one by far is Aaron's Hour with Aaron Phillips. This guy is so amazing. What a great interviewer, and you can catch him every Saturday from 12 to 1. 12 to 1. It's a tremendous show. You know why? I was on it, and the ratings went through the roof. Check it out on WWDB TV. That's WWDB TV. It's huge.
Most business owners struggle with the following issue. How do I brand my business to get noticed? Double Eight Design Studio helps businesses by designing brands that boost confidence, look and feel timeless, stand out from the competition, and attract all the right clients. Whether you are in need of a new brand, upgraded design elements, or completely redesign your current brand, Double Eight Design Studio has fully customized packages for your business. Call Chelsea McKendrick at 702-525-3334 and visit www.double8designstudio.com. Let Double Eight Design Studio give you a brand new outlook for your business. A picture. Hi there. Welcome back. John, check your email. I think I forwarded you a picture of what you were just talking about. I don't know if it's something you can grab or not, but all right. With that, it is that time that I get to bring in my guests to help save the show because John and I just really went off the deep end. Joining me now from California, Mr. Doc Mason. He is a father of four, screenwriter, producer, and consultant. Written a book called Mastering the Log Line, How to Excite Hollywood in a Single Sentence, with a foreword by Christopher Lockhart, story editor at WME. And his daughter designed the cover of his book, which hopefully we should be able to show a picture of. With that, Doc, thank you for joining us today from Cali. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you. Recovering from a little bit of the COVID, but I'm better now.
Well, that's good. You sound great. That's the good thing. You're feeling better. You said before we went on the air, everything is negative, so you're back on fully on the mend. So that's great news. So I kind of want to ask, did you have a good Thanksgiving at least, sort of, with everything?
Well, my friend brought me a plate of food, and that was when my appetite came back, and I knew I was on the mend from that moment on.
Whenever you can eat, the appetite is always good, right?
Yeah,
that's a good thing. I'm just looking to bring up. So I got to ask you, it's a question I like to ask all my guests when they're in certain industries and things that they do. What was your aha moment for you in your life that came across your path that gave you the inclination, I think I want to be a screenwriter. I think I want to be in doing these things as a producer. Give me some background on how you got into this industry.
Well, I'm going to take a deep dive and go back 30 years.
Okay.
My wife was pregnant with our first kid, and I was a very bad salesman, doing a very bad job selling things. And she's like, you got to get a regular job because, we're having a baby.
Yeah, right. Bills got paid.
So I actually, I was a kid. I went to work for Blockbuster Video, and it turns out that I knew so many of the movies. I became the guy at Blockbuster, where everybody came for recommendations. Now, Blockbuster never cared about recommendations.
Right.
They had 100 copies of one. But this guy came into the store. He says, I got thousands of videos. I'm like, well, if you got thousands of videos, open up a store and I'll manage it for you. I thought he was full, And it turns out he had 10,000 unique titles
Wow.
And I opened the store for him, and wow, it was the greatest 2 weeks of my life because he was not interested in having a store, and he closed it down immediately.
Wow.
In any case, I got into another situation where I actually owned a video store, a very small one with hundreds of titles.
Right.
And I built that up over several years to have thousands of titles. And I just love movies, watching 2, 3, 4 movies a day. That was my real education. And in the meantime, I went back to college to study film and television. And the crazy thing is that I was just a little bit older than everybody, not much, but because of my experience with the video store, everybody kind of looked up to me. Well, I was given the nickname Doc back then because we were all playing cards, and this little movie called Tombstone came out, and remember Doc Holliday. But the story that I like to tell is there's a book. I'm gonna just go to my notes real quick because there's a lot to it. There's a book called A Walk on the Wild Side by Nelson Algren.
Okay.
And there's a famous quote: "Never play cards with a man called Doc. Never eat at a place called Mom's, and never sleep with a woman whose troubles are worse than your own." And so the name didn't really stick in college, but when I moved to Hollywood to become a director, I started out as a production assistant, and wouldn't you know it, there's like three Jameses on set, and they're like, "Do you have a nickname?" I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Did anyone ever call you anything but James?" Because I didn't like Jim or Jimmy or Jamie. I like Jamie, okay, but for a girl. Anyway, I mentioned Doc, and he's like, "You're Doc." So working my way up through Hollywood, I was always Doc.
Gotcha.
And so I ended up directing a film way back when, and realized like immediately that it wasn't for me. There's a way of thinking that a director has to have, quick to make a decision.
Sure.
And for me, when I go into McDonald's and I'm like, "Oh my God, the menu changes. I can't even think. Stop." I knew back then that it just wasn't for me. But what I found was that the movie that I directed, I also wrote. And so that became like this passion of mine that I wanted to learn how to become the best writer that I could.
Right.
That was my epiphany, sitting in the basement on set, crying into my producer's arms, going, "What am I doing?" And realizing that the joy that I got was the things that I could control without having to spend, a millisecond to decide. I as a writer, you have a little bit more time to figure things out.
Sure.
And so, And so I spent years in obscurity learning how to write. And,
Gotcha.
And then I had this other epiphany about 10 years ago when I started teaching people how to write log lines. I have a group on Facebook called, all things log lines, and it's how to write a log line. And I work with some other people, and we help. For years, we taught Christopher Lockhart's article. Christopher Lockhart is like one of the. He's a really fantastic individual, first of all, but second of all, he's also known as the logline guy.
Right.
But he's approaching log lines from the reader's perspective or the producer's perspective. And so I realized that after years of teaching his method, that the writer has a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I wanted to do was come up with a way of describing the log line in a way that was more for writers, so that we could really describe, well, first of all, define what the log line is,
right,
and then describe the central conflict in a way that really gets the story across.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. And before I read what you in the information, what a log line actually is, did you create the word log line, or is that word already in the industry?
The funny thing is that in the book, I describe the history of the log line.
Okay.
In about a page, because it's really not that big of a deal.
Right.
But so when a ship is speeding along the water, it is measured in knots,
Right.
right? And the knots come from throwing an actual log overboard and counting the knots that go through the hand in a certain period of time, 30 seconds. And then those things are logged in a book. Well, it wasn't called logging then; it was just called, writing in the book, and it became a log book. And then, and so over time, the logs, the actual wood, was replaced by these metal things that they still call pidometers.
Okay.
Right under the boat, they measure, but they still measure in knots.
Right.
Well, fast forward, several hundred years, I guess, and everything is logged, right? Including scenarios. When people submit a script to Hollywood, it's logged in a book,
Right.
And that became, and usually they're described very briefly, like in one line. So it became a log line. Now, of course, in the last 100 years or so, how we describe a scenario has changed quite a bit, and we've had to become more sophisticated in how we describe the story, because there's just so many of them, so many stories. So, so you were talking earlier about the idea of it sounds like a tagline in advertising. Well, as it turns out, that for the last 30 years, I've been making a living as an advertising executive. So I know a little bit about taglines too, but really a tagline is has very little to do with the log line, because the purpose of the log line is to get the industry professional to read the script. Now, it doesn't have to be a script. It can be a novel. It can be any kind of narrative form, right? Stories. So the idea of having to describe a story and encourage someone to want to read the story is a trick. Like, have you ever tried to tell someone a story and you keep going on and on and on and on and on about it, and finally they're like,
it's too much.
Too much, right? But if you could describe that story in a single sentence, people are like, oh, that sounds interesting.
So let me share with everybody who's watching. A log line is a single sentence of about 35 words that defines the story's central conflict through context/setting, a flawed main character, and their opposition, the trigger, stakes, goal, and tone. That's a lot to try to say in 35 words.
Yeah, it seems like magic, doesn't it? But
yeah.
It's
like an elevator speech. When you're networking, you got to talk about what you do, how you do it, give the right information, and do it in 30 seconds.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So so the tricks of sitting down to writing a log line to get all this information in there?
Sure.
There's got to be some, obviously you've been doing it a long time now. So the ease of compiling thoughts to put a log line together is probably systematic for you, that the step versus me trying to write it probably would never happen. But what are some of the things?
Don't say never.
Well, all right, maybe never.
The book is a step-by-step guide in how to do it.
Perfect.
So
talk about that. What do you go through to prepare your thoughts to put a log line together for a movie, for an actor, whatever? What's your process?
So let's first step back and say that in order for us to have a common understanding of what is needed, we have to have a common understanding of the terms.
Okay.
So I don't just say protagonist and or villain or antagonist. I break these ideas down so that, like, there are no two stories that are the same. It's like, consider it like a puzzle, and all these pieces have to fit together. And so, like, the main character can be a protagonist, but could also be a hero. And it could also be, many other different types of main characters. And so we first have to understand each other. And so the book goes through all of the elements and breaks them down so that we all have a common understanding of what those elements are. But then when it comes to putting it all together, I like to think of them as the puzzle. You have to know what the picture looks like, right? At the end of the day, that trying to create a puzzle that already exists. So think about the ending, right? That's the final picture. The central conflict is the conflict that is resolved in the climax.
Right.
Right. So we know in the central conflict who the main character is and who the opposition or the oppositional force is, and then we can back out into things like if we know the main character, what is their goal? Their goal is to achieve their desired outcome in the climax. So, right. So we've got to think about the goal, and we have to think about the goal has to be external and achievable and trackable and all of these other things. And you don't have to understand all that stuff right now. That's what the book is for, right?
Right.
But if you understand that the goal has to be those things, and what all those things mean, then you can start designing a goal that is compelling. And so before you set a goal, you have to have your status quo has to be interrupted, right?
Right.
So the status quo is the no matter how crazy the world is that the character lives in, that's their status quo. And when the inciting incident, or what I call a triggering event, happens, it changes their status quo, and they must form a goal.
Gotcha.
Right. So I'm kind of thinking about crafting a log line. I'm thinking about all of these different elements, but I start at the end.
Right.
With,
reverse engineer it backwards.
Right. And that gives us a couple great ideas, right? The idea that it's a diagnostic tool. When a log line doesn't have those elements, I can start to think about, well, is it because that the writer forgot to include them, or is it because the story doesn't have it? Right.
So it's not, I mean, in a way, your style of writing and your logic of what you're doing is almost like, I don't want to I'm not trying to oversimplify this in any way, shape, or form, but life itself, in that, everybody should have a goal or direction in life of what they want to do, but stuff happens, life happens. And sometimes you have to know how to shift, or goals change because of events that maybe you had nothing to do with, that all of a sudden come into your life, and you may have to change things here and there a little bit. To me, it sounds like there's a lot of parallel to that because of, obviously, movies, there are lives within the movies, the actors, their roles, there are lives within the movie, but it almost sounds like to parallel it, real life also does that. And so the steps are almost the same. So,
except there's one major difference.
Okay.
When you make a goal, like for instance, at the beginning of a year,
right.
You set up these
resolutions,
right. Sometimes they're forgotten by the end of January.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between real life and a movie is that in a movie, the stakes,
sure.
There's two types of stakes. There's the initial stakes that motivate the character to act in the first place, to pursue the goal. But then there are stakes if they fail to achieve their goal, right? In real life, we don't often have those kinds of real serious stakes. If I don't sell my book, I can always write another one. It's like my life doesn't depend on it. My idea of who I am as a person doesn't depend on the success of my book.
Right.
In a movie, however, that could be catastrophic.
Right.
But it depends on how you set that up, right?
Sure. Well, it's funny you mentioned about resolutions. I make one resolution a year. I don't make resolutions.
One every year?
Well, yeah, only one. My resolution is I don't make resolutions. I don't want to be tied down to anything. All right. I want to change gears on you just a little bit. These are some of those curveball questions that I gave you a heads up on before we went on the air.
I call them screwball.
You call them screwball. No, you weren't talking about the person answering them, right? I just want to be clear.
No.
Just the question? Okay, gotcha. Source. Who's your favorite actor of all time?
Well, you'd think I would say James Mason, huh?
Well, you would think.
It's always funny when people come up to me and say something in the James Mason very distinct accent. And for the younger viewers, he was a villain in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and had a TV show, by the way, the James Mason Show, which would be a great nickname, wouldn't it? I'm the James Mason Show. Anyway, it was. If you go onto the Hollywood Walk of Fame, his star is for a TV show, not for a movie. But I think I'm going to go with Tom Hanks. I just really love the comedy and the drama, and it's just.
Do you think Tom Hanks will be talked about with some of the many, many greats of the acting world as one of the greatest ever?
Well, I just don't think about, everybody he's the Jimmy Stewart of our time for sure.
Okay.
And I think Jimmy Stewart is, one of the greatest. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put them up against like Richard Burton.
Right.
But Richard Burton, by the way, was the co-star in the James Mason show. He didn't even have top billing in the James Mason show. So how good of an actor was he?
Exactly.
But anyway.
So let me flip the script on you then. Who's your favorite actress of all time? Favorite actress?
Oh, without a doubt, Katharine Hepburn.
Okay. See, he's firing them away quickly now. You can tell when the answers are right there, right? All right. So now this next question, I don't know how you can't. Okay. I got to give you a disclaimer. The question I'm about to ask you cannot include any of your own movies.
Okay.
Okay. Favorite movie of all time to watch so that when it comes on, you're popping your favorite popcorn, you're grabbing your significant other, kids to watch it with you, you turn your phone off for X number of hours. What movie is that for you?
It's usually Forrest Gump.
Okay.
Yeah.
Usually. That means
Usually.
there's one.
It could be Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
It's often just one of those classics that has bits, not necessarily, a complete. Like if I'm going to watch a movie from start to finish, it would probably be something like Some Like It Hot.
Gotcha.
You have to see the opening, where they're getting almost getting killed to understand the stakes, right?
Exactly. Quick shout out to Jennifer out in Hawaii. As always, good to see you out there, my friend. Appreciate you following along. Just a quick reset. Thank you for joining Aaron's Hour with Aaron Phillips. Today, my guest is James Doc Mason. We're just going to call him Doc throughout the rest of the show. Screenwriter, producer, consultant, county or advertising executive, father of four, and an author of a book called Mastering the Log Line, How to Excite Hollywood in a Single Sentence. We'll get back to the book here momentarily. Just wanted to do a quick reset. And by the way, John reminded me I was neglect on my, speaking of taglines, when Desert Valley Gallery, my sponsor's commercial ran earlier, they do have a promotion between now and the end of the year. If you purchase your first purchase being $150 or more, you'll be entered into a sweepstakes for 2 tickets to their monthly cabaret show. That's about an $80 value. You'll be able to go to any of the monthly cabaret shows that you choose in the year 2024. So get up there, mention Aaron's Hour, Aaron Phillips, WWDB TV, anything that comes to mind regarding this, by all means. Oh, AJ Dean is in the chat room. Hey, AJ, how are you? So
AJ is it how we got to know each other?
Yeah.
Thank you, AJ.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I too was a guest on her show, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and for that opportunity. Anyway, get up to Desert Valley Gallery in Tivoli Village. Take advantage of those free tickets. You'll love the shows that they have coming up as well. Good shows. Good shows. Well, as Vince McMahon would say, good shit. That's good shit over there. Anyway.
Aaron, can I just say that
Please.
Art, like any kind of art, whether it's a book or whether it's, art on the wall, with your advertiser, art is the greatest gift you could give to someone. Even if, you give it to someone and they're like, well, it's not for me. They'll gift it to somebody and it will find a home. Yeah. So, buy art.
If you were able to see the commercial, and I don't mean to change plans, but Desert Valley Gallery, they call it a gallery. And yes, they have art, they have sculptures, they have jewelry, but you looked in it's a very bright gallery. It's not your typical art gallery that's usually dark and, you got all those 14th century frames around pictures. This is a different style gallery that is bright and is exciting, and the pieces reflect that. And they do carry pieces on consignment from artists around town, but it is a unique place. So yeah, art. Listen, to me, anything in entertainment, in a way, like we were talking about before we went on the air about like what I do, being an author, to me, they're all forms of entertainment. Sculptures, writers, authors.
Absolutely.
If you're doing something to make people think in a way, whether it's think about something different or they're laughing or they're crying or whatever, to me, that's entertainment. You're making them think about life and taking them, I hate to say it this way, but taking them away from the normal struggles in someone's daily life that they could put aside for a little bit. I think everything under that falls under entertainment, in my opinion. But what do I know? I don't know much about hockey anyway. All right. AJ, while you're in the chat room, I would be remiss. Please put information in there about how people can catch your show. I know how to do it. I know it's on Roku.
I know how to do it.
John knows how to do it. Doc knows how to do it. But please put some information in there about your show so people can see it. And I will be more than happy to share it with everybody who is on listening on our mobile app at this time. Were you able to download that picture, Mr. Producer?
No, sir, I was not.
Okay. Unfortunately,
Well, let me rephrase that. Yes, I can, but I'll cut you off if I do.
oh, if you put, okay, we don't want to do that.
Sorry.
That's all right. So talk about the book. Where did the idea from the book come from to put your knowledge down to paper and pen for people to learn how to do what you offer in terms of the log line?
Well, about 12 years ago, I started doing the I got an echo. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I started doing the Logline Facebook group, and I really did it as a way to teach myself how to write log lines, because I think the best way to learn is to teach. And so I really had to understand Christopher Lockhart's article, and so over time I kind of just developed this process of my own process of how to write a log line, and people responded very well to it. And so what I thought about 5 or 6 years ago, I would write a book about collaboration, because that's really where my expertise is in advertising and in movies, is getting to yes, so to speak, with my collaborators, right?
Mhm.
And step by step. And I have a process for that. Well, the second chapter was going to be on log lines, and I started writing it and then writing it and writing it. And I realized that it really was its own book.
Right.
And because I have this sort of expertise in process in advertising, and I have this expertise in writing log lines, it seemed a natural thing to make it the very first thing that I share with the public. And so there will be other books coming in the next few years. One is on audience engagement, and one is finally on the collaborative process. But the first things first was this idea of putting to paper this collective knowledge that I've accumulated over the years,
Mhm.
in a way that my kids could understand. If they ever wanted to know what their old man did, they could read this book and say, this is what he was talking about. Because my kids have grown up with me talking about movies forever. And, my 21-year-old has this innate ability to tell stories, and he just doesn't do anything with it yet. I'm like, that's fine. When you're ready, right? I did a short film called Yaye Blind Samurai Woman. I don't know if you happen to see that. It's on YouTube for free. YAE Blind Samurai Woman. And I wrote it with a Japanese director, and it's in English, and it's intense. And I've forgotten what I was going to say about that.
That's what you're talking about, the book. We were talking about the other books that you were transitioning to.
Yeah. So that was a collaborative effort.
Gotcha.
And what I found is I really enjoy helping people to tell their stories. If I had my life to do over again, maybe I would be a film editor as opposed to a film writer, because I think the film editors, if a movie's told 3 times, once when the screenwriter writes it, once when the director directs it, and once when the editor edits,
Right.
then I could be of most service to someone at the very last possible moment.
And it's interesting when you were talking about this earlier. I was thinking about the relationship which you were referring to between the writer and director, because of the different visions that, as a writer, you're envisioning scenes, you're envisioning the story to go this way. A lot of times the directors / producers will interpret things night and day to what you originally had written. So
Right.
how does that kind of bump in the road get solved? Obviously, the two have to talk at some point about
Right.
visions and what they see. How does that get solved? Because I got to imagine that's part of understanding a log line. If there's two different visions, to write something that everybody accepts.
Exactly. First of all, if you think about a log line is consisting of 8 different elements of story, then what you can do is start with those elements and say, do we agree on each of these elements?
Okay.
And if we can agree on those elements, then we'll have a very close idea of what the end result will be.
Okay.
And so I try to be as crystal clear as possible on those 8 elements.
Gotcha.
In the logline definition that you gave, it lists those elements. And you said it sounds like a lot, but it really it's necessary. It really is necessary to stay on the same page.
Sure.
And so the idea of the how should I put this? If you're collaborating with somebody else, you want to get to yes on the elements first.
Right. Makes sense. I mean, you have to be on the same page, dare I say.
That's
I want to mention for those who are following along, AJ Dean dropped into our chat room the link to her show. You can obviously find it very easily, Film Talk with AJ Dean. She's also on Facebook. But again, there's a link in there you can use. That'll take you right to her YouTube channel. And again, I know her shows are also available on Roku. Right next, the way I downloaded it, it's right next to my WWDB TV network on my Roku service. So go check it out. A lot of great guests. And hopefully, maybe before the year's out or early next year, AJ, you and I are going to have to come to some scheduling agreement, get you on my show as well for all that you do for within the industry as well. All right, couple other questions before we go to our last break of the show for you, sir. What is your favorite music genre?
Singer-songwriter stuff, from the early 70s.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because they're stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now imagine yourself in your car. You're pulling up to a red light. You're flipping around on satellite or an AM or an FM, whatever, however you choose to listen, or some downloadable system. Your all-time favorite song comes on the air. You're at a red light. You don't care what anybody is seeing inside your car. You're bebopping along. You could be doing the Elaine Bettis dance if you want to. Exactly. What is your favorite song that you're singing away to in your car?
It's probably Pink Floyd. It transports me. I mean, all of the stuff transports me. I always like to say that when I die, at my funeral, I want you to play Wish You Were Here.
Okay.
So,
Wish you were here. See, I want to play the Batman theme, but that's a whole nother story.
yeah, but like Alan Parsons or any of that prog rock,
Right.
the thing is that I use music in a different way than a lot of people. I use it for inspiration. I use it for contemplative, ideas. I'm thinking about my script. I'm thinking about story as I'm listening. Like with the prog rock, and you have 20-minute songs,
Right.
you can just get lost, and you're not, the repetition isn't a problem.
Right.
Like some of this pop music is too repetitive. It's too noisy for me to think.
When I work out, the trainers, they play their playlist of songs, and they're usually playlists from the typical websites that they put together. And I'm hearing the lyrics in some of these songs. Now, I mean, so I asked them, I said, can't you play songs like the theme from Rocky? I mean, some of those songs, those were good motivational songs back in the day.
Sure.
The stuff that's out there today, I have unfortunately learned the skill of blocking out the music because I don't like it while I'm working out. And I know it's supposed to be upbeat and fast and keep it going. I understand all the reasons, but there are other songs that can do the same thing, and you don't have to be embarrassed about the song's lyrics or the song itself, or even for that matter, the artist who performs them. It's sometimes you don't even want to think about who that is. But anyway, I digress about the music. So here's another question for you. What is your favorite meal of all time, starting with appetizer down to dessert?
Wow. Okay, so
I'm the
I've actually
Geraldo
been-
Rivera
I've
here.
actually been asked that before, and I was married to a Russian lady whose mother was the most amazing cook, and so the way the Russians eat is with small plates and sort of like tapas style, right?
Right.
And so her mother, my kid's grandmother, makes this thing called a vareniki, which is
Okay.
sort of like a steamed little gyoza kind of thing. And she made these ones with cherries, which were just outstanding, sprinkled with sugar and with a little sour cream. Oh my God, it's like heaven. And so I can't think of a better food than a cherry vareniki.
Okay.
But as a meal, you're asking about a meal, and I'm thinking,
Yeah, everything. Yep.
so I've had so many, so I just went to this restaurant. It's a Argentinian restaurant called Busco, I think.
Okay.
And they had these French fries, but they weren't made out of potatoes. They were made out of cactus, which were outstanding.
Did they at least pull the spines out first? The
Oh
prickly?
yeah. No, they taste just like, they have the consistency of potato.
Don't tell me
And-
they taste like chicken. That's why I don't want to hear it.
Tastes like chicken. I'm just kidding. But that was like an amazing appetizer, followed by this wonderful salmon salad, which, how could you go wrong with that, right? I
Of course. Favorite dessert? Because I got to step aside for a quick break. Let's wrap it up.
Sure.
With dessert.
Apple pie, hot apple pie with a little bit of French vanilla ice cream.
See, now that's a classic dessert, even though I'm not into apple pie, but apple pie and vanilla ice cream is like Chevrolet and hot dogs. Anyway, you're watching the Aaron Zara. We're going to step aside for a final break of the show. Doc Mason here talking about life as a screenwriter, log lines. We'll pitch his book here when we come back. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back. Most business owners struggle with the following issue. How do I brand my business to get noticed? Double 8 Design Studio helps businesses by designing brands that boost confidence, look and feel timeless, stand out from the competition, and attract all the right clients. Whether you are in need of a new brand, upgraded design elements, or completely redesign your current brand, Double 8 Design Studio has fully customized packages for your business. Call Chelsea McKendrick at 702-525-3334 and visit www.double8designstudio.com. Let Double 8 Design Studio give you a brand new outlook for your business.
How unique.
It's gorgeous.
You'll find the art that speaks to your heart at Desert Valley Gallery. I've got to have it.
So colorful.
I can't live without it. You'll find the art that speaks to your heart at Desert Valley Gallery.
Desert Valley Gallery. Get in there between now and the end of the year. Minimum $150 first-time purchase. Mention Aaron Zauer. Mention my name. Mention WWDB TV. And you will get what, John?
You'll get some tickets.
Well, no, you'll be entered into a drawing for
Drawing
tickets.
the tickets, right? But I just wanted to talk about the show that we went to last week.
All right, we only have like 10
I know,
minutes left.
I'm going to talk
It's
fast.
Doc's time.
It
Go.
was really great, good show. Go in there, go buy something, just so you can get those tickets because
Yeah.
there is limited seating.
30.
There was like 30 people there.
That's it.
And the food was good too.
Yeah, it's a great time over there, so go talk to them. But again, take care. All right. Masteringthelogline.com is the website. Is that correct, sir?
It is. And I want to correct something. In the last segment, I said Busco, but it's Cusco, Qusqo Bistro.
Oh.
The restaurant. And
All
it's
right.
Peruvian, not Argentinian. I'm like,
That's all right. Well, you see, I'm glad to know for a change it wasn't me making mistakes on this show.
Yeah.
Usually I get 100 of them. So
We're in good company.
Exactly. The book is available on Amazon, and unfortunately, we got delayed in getting the logo downloaded for the book, but it is on Amazon. And again, your daughter she did the cover, yeah?
Yeah.
How did you ask her to get involved with this?
Oh, that's a great question. So I was planning on spending quite a bit of money to get a cover design,
Right.
and my ex goes, "Well, why don't you have Zhenya do it?" I'm like, she does anime. She's not a graphic designer.
Okay.
And like, what's the worst that can happen? Right? She'll design it. If I don't like it, I'll just hire someone to do it.
There you go.
But she did it like within minutes. I was like, holy this is like everything I wanted and more. It was so good.
Yeah.
She designed the colors. Go ahead.
John asked if we can get her number to design some stuff for the studio. But
She's expensive, as it turns out, because I had to buy her an iPad. What do you call it?
The drawing pads.
The drawing. Yeah. So
Yeah, they got to
Anyway.
recoup that money, John. They got to recoup that money. But it's interesting because I love the connection, mastering the log line, obviously, with the tagline of how to excite Hollywood with a single sentence. Folks, it's a chemistry microscope with a book under the microscope. Okay, that's the design. I think that's fabulous to make the two connections of chemistry and putting things together and whatnot. And boom, there's your book or script or whatever it is that's underneath. I think that's great. I'm just going to click on the link, but how much is the book available for on Amazon?
well, you'd think that with all that I'm teaching, it would be hundreds of dollars, right? But no, it's the hardcover. I mean, the soft cover is $19.99, and the ebook is just $10.
There you go.
So,
See, John?
So I have to ask this question. Is the tagline for the book actually the log line for the book?
no.
Oh, remember what he
I
said?
just thought it'd make a great log line.
But don't you remember when I asked that question? He's talked about the difference between a tagline and a log line.
Sure.
So are you doing Chief right now?
Yeah.
So
It's his birthday.
Gotcha.
I want to say that I start the book with a quote. Let me see if I can grab that quote real quick for you, because this really is. It's more of my. How should I put this? My thematic statement,
Okay.
right? But it really goes to show the intent of the book.
Okay.
So chapter 1 starts why master the log line, and the quote that I have is by me, quoting myself. That's real. There is no better feeling for the writer, for any human really, than to be understood. However, to be understood, one must first seek to understand. And to me,
Wow.
that means that if you really want your story to be understood, you have to understand your story. If
Sure.
you really want to understand how to write a log line, you really have to take the time and study and learn all the elements of the log line.
Right. Makes sense. And I like what AJ put in the comments line about your book. Buy it for the holidays, get it for somebody. And as a secondary gift to that, my book, Let My Voice Speak to You, Tales from a Hall of Fame broadcaster, detailing my health transition, plus notes about podcasting and things like that are in there as well. Add that to the gift, and you'll. I think my book online is about the same. I think it's $15, whatever. My ebook is $6.99, so it's a nice tagline that you can add to that. Anyway, I had to take the moment to plug the book, as long as we're plugging books on Amazon. So,
Sure. Yeah, and
all
my
right.
book is 280 pages. It's not a light read. It's not vaporware.
Sure.
You're really going to get a deep understanding, not only of how to write a log line, but how to write a story.
Right. And you would think my book being half that size, my price would be half his price, but it's not. My book is a little easier to read, but look, writing, you're talking about a formula for what you do.
No
No?
formula.
Well,
It's puzzle pieces that
Okay.
you have to choose, because I don't. The one thing that I there are lots of formulas. You can go out on the internet right now and get a formula for a log line, and
Okay.
it's just the most very basic thing.
Gotcha.
And what I'm trying to do is really help the writer tell the story that they want to tell, not fit their story, the round peg into the square hole, or
Mhm.
vice versa.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. So, you've been doing this a long time. How can people find you to talk more with you, or for your services, all that sort of stuff?
They can go to masteringthelogline.com, and there's a form that they can fill out. That's probably the easiest.
Okay.
Because
Are you on social media? Are you on Facebook or any of those other places?
Screen Rioter on all the socials.
Okay.
SCREENRIOTER.
Okay. I noticed on the link for the book, you have some interviews and stuff that you've done. So when this show is done, John will email you the link for the show, and you could put this interview on your website. Cheap plug for some advertising. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, you can put that on there. All right, we're actually down to about 3 minutes, 2-3 minutes. So I'm going to finish up with a couple of my oddball questions here. Number one, favorite, and these I want you to quick on these. All right, kind of like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire kind of thing. Favorite bucket list vacation place you haven't gone to yet?
I just went to Japan. That was my bucket list.
Oh, okay, that's all right. That'll work. When it's time for somebody to write a movie about you, Doc, who would you like to see play you in the movie about you? Yeah,
Tom Hanks.
of course,
Of course.
of course. Look what he did in A Man Named Otto, for crying out loud. Right? So
Yeah, that was
all
a
right.
great one.
Wasn't it? It was quietly great. A lot of people panned it, but I watched it. I enjoyed it.
Did you
I don't-
see the original, A Man Called Ova?
No, I did not.
Oh my, it's so great. It's so much better.
I'll
And I liked A Man Called Otto.
have to look. I'll have to look for it. So,
Yeah.
all right. Last question for you. A little bit on the serious side. When the time comes that you are called to the pearly gates up above, the maitre d' there is going to be standing at the gates waiting for you. Before you walk through, what is it you want to hear the maitre d' say about or to you as you are welcomed?
Good job.
That's it. No log line needed, man. 2 words. Good job. That's it right there. Doc, thank you so much for joining us today. It's glad your health, as we talked about before, and you mentioned at the top of the show, has gotten better for you to join us today. I'm so grateful for that. Continued health, continued success. Hopefully the next time you come into Vegas, you give me a heads up, because one thing I like to do when I have authors come on the show is I always ask for, because I'm a greedy SOB, for a signed copy of the book to add to my collection of authors that I've had the privilege of chatting with here on my show. But certainly, hopefully you'll come out soon so we can at least meet and have some coffee or something together as well. Thank you again for your time.
And thank you to you. And I hope your father's well.
Thank you. As soon as we're done here, I will be racing over to his place and get the update. So, but thank you. He is home. He did call. That's why I had to take a longer break, because he started calling me before we were getting ready to go to that first break. I'm like, do I ignore it or something? No. So anyway, thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right. I'm going to leave you a couple of lines, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully do you like Stephen Wright, by the way, the comedian?
Yeah, he's deadpan funny.
Isn't he? So I got this thing that came up on my Facebook news feed, and so I printed it off. There are 35 lines from Stephen Wright, but I'm not going to read them all. I'll just share a couple just to kind of put a last-minute laughter in somebody's line. So from Stephen Wright, so please remember the source. I'd kill for a Nobel Peace Prize. Borrow money from pessimists, they don't expect it back. Half the people you know are below average. And I'll leave you with this one. 99% of lawyers give the rest a bad name. Oh, then I got to go to the next one. 82.7% of all statistics are made up on the spot. There you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on my show this week. Next week, as I'm quickly looking up the schedule, please make sure you join me when I have a double feature guest next week. First and foremost, a young lady I met last year, wonderful singer. Her name is Madison. She'll be on to share some songs and update us from the first time I interviewed her about 1.5 years ago. And then Business Spotlight, Bobby Beverly. She'll be coming on Ageless with Bobby. She's going to talk about her business and things that she does to stay healthy. So join us. I got a double feature guest next week. It'll be a great show as always. Once again, Doc, thank you for joining me today. Everybody out there, thank you for watching. And as always, be kind to everybody. Why? We're all we have. We'll see you next time right here on Aaron's Hour. Thank you for watching, everybody.